Hello and welcome. It's Jason and Zach again with RTB Technologies. And today we want to talk about legacy systems. These are legacy systems that might still be on your network, but forgotten about. And the reason why we want to talk about this today is that there was a recent SharePoint exploit that happened. And what it proved is that there are lots of legacy systems out there that people forgot about. And in this exploit, attackers learned that many organizations think that your systems are all in the cloud. But the fact is, there are many vulnerable targets out there that might be inside your organization. And maybe they're sitting in some backroom closet somewhere that are not being paid attention to, going on unmonitored, unpatched, things like that. Zach, what are some of these risks that people might be able to relate to, and what's going on out there for the public to know about?
Yeah, so let's kind of dive into a little bit more about what happened and what's going on. So what we're talking about here specifically is legacy systems that have access or points to the World Wide Web, the big internet, right? So legacy systems, everybody knows they're old systems, they're unpatched, they're unsupported, something along those lines, depending on what system it is. It could also just be a system that you have that you just hadn't paid attention to, and it's just not up to date on patches. But we're really concerned about those specifically because a lot of people don't know they have them. So when you and I are on our machines, we're on our machines daily. We know that they're being updated automatically, things like that. But what if you're a large company? What if you 10 years ago decided you wanted to have on-prem data backup? It's a perfect example, right? So what you did is you went and you bought a server and you decided to hook it up to the internet and hook it up to your file system so that you can access it wherever you are in the world. That's awesome, right? That's what a lot of people are trying to do right now. Unfortunately, a couple of years later, people forgot about it. They just didn't take care of it, and now it's running on unsupported software. So it's a way for an attacker to get in and take all of your data.
Yeah, huge risk out there. So, we spoke about, legacy SharePoint servers were exploited. You were talking about maybe old backup systems, but some other things might be perhaps old camera servers that have been sitting around for a while, or perhaps badge access controllers, running unsupported firmware, maybe VoIP servers or phone servers, something like that. But many of these could be mission critical assets that often get overlooked, right? We're talking about, like you said, unpatched, rarely secured, and that makes them a perfect target. So, what can people do to figure this out and get ahead of this before it really becomes a huge risk and can really impact an organization in a negative way?
Yeah, so I mean, for the companies that have been around for a while, it probably already is a huge risk. So let's not, jump over that elephant in the room. Um, for companies, the best place to start is really doing an entire inventory of all your systems. Absolutely every system you have. Going through checking your closets, because there's probably a system in a closet somewhere that you forgot about that's still running, right? And that's going to be where you're going to have your vulnerabilities and your risk. So going through, checking all of your systems, making sure you take an inventory of all your systems, that's where you should start. And then any system that you have that's old, that's still on the network, that is being used, you need to make sure you patch it. Well, cool. What about like medical companies that use Windows XP, right? Windows XP has been end of life now for quite a while, but I know that there's still some out there in the wild. So what do? Well, then you do a risk analysis. Is this system still needed? If it is, then how are we going to protect it? Because you can't patch it. Microsoft doesn't support it. So all those patches are out of date and it's not secured to the level it should be. So then how are we going to do that? You're going to do a couple things. You're going to segregate it. You're going to put it on its own network. You're going to IP restrict who can log into it. There's a whole bunch of things you can do in order to kind of make that more secure. But it's still always going to be a vulnerability. It's still always going to be a risk.
Right, right. Yeah, but you said it though. I mean, for the first step is just discovering what's really on your network, just doing a full inventory of what's out there. In other words, if it's plugged in, it's part of your security footprint. And patching is the first move, like you said. You have network segmentation, private VLANs, things like that. But just one thing to keep in mind though is just because it's still working does not mean it's safe.
Yeah, you're 100% right on that one. Again, I know that some systems will continue to run indefinitely because that's just, especially Linux for sure, because that's just the way they are. But that, again, like you said, does not mean they're secure, and that's why you really have to go through and look at what's legacy out there on
Yeah.
your network.
Yeah, exactly. And just remember, hackers are counting on you to have these old systems online and also for you to forget that they're there. So, just remember that. And our job and the job of a good security team out there is, to make sure that your business is not the next one caught off guard. And you do that by taking these steps. So if you have any questions, feel free to reach out to us, drop a comment below, and we can definitely get you in the right direction, make sure that we're taking care of all of these systems, make sure we know what they are and taking the appropriate measures to get them taken care of. So stay safe out there, stay vigilant, and we'll see you next time.